Rodney, I was once asked to teach Christian marriage at Groote Island with the Aboriginal people. I did a lot of research trying to find what really is the basis of Christian marriage. And I found that anyone who'd written on it really was talking from their own culture. Mm-hmm. You know, the way us Westerners here in Australia today do a wedding, the customs there are only a few hundred years old. And we found really that the only way to address it for Aboriginal people was to go back to Abraham and his family tree. Mm-hmm. And we put up a big diagram, and the people looked at it and they said, hey, that fella, he shouldn't be married to that woman. That's married the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Tell me something about your way amongst your people.
Well, Christian culture, like today we talk about Christian culture, I think like a Christian person must marry like a Christian man, marry a Christian woman, like
yes.
Christian. But in Aboriginal culture, like in the Kimberleys and other parts of Australia, they have a kinship system, and they have to marry inside that kinship system. And
so someone from this group has to marry someone from one of the other groups.
Yeah. Yep. In the right skin that is set up, and so to determine who you're going to marry, but it also determines your behavior in that tribe as well. That system
so like
determines
your relationship with your mother-in-law.
Yeah, your mother-in-law, your uncle, or your nephew and niece. It's designed, to monitor all that as well.
Yep.
And but the marriage in Aboriginal culture, it's more or less for life as well. It's set up for life. And if someone do die, you can't marry whoever you want to. You have to wait till the tribal elders of that tribe determine who you're going to marry. And, but it's still a covenant. It's set up, to last your whole life. And if you break that law, well, there was consequences to it.
And do you have ceremony or something to mark that?
So some people do have ceremonies.
So different tribes in Australia.
Different ceremonies, yeah.
Yep.
But they, it's a covenant between them as well, and it's set up for life, And but before white people came to this country, and that was really strict. But now it's sort of a bit, not so strict because of the breakdown of their culture and
intermarriage with white fellas and Chinese and all the rest. Yes.
But in the traditional thing, if you go to maybe Central Australia, where people still are more tribal, it's still that, that strict. You still have to abide by that principle.
So what we're talking about is cultural law, which is spelled L-O-R-E, as opposed to godly law, L-A-W. Yeah. So there are two different types of things. And one of them is a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Where do those cultural things come from?
Well, God has given us, like every tribe, every nation in the world, their culture, but every culture is fallen because of what Adam did,
Okay.
And it broke all that thing down, and they still have laws and things like that, but God has a kingdom culture, and we have to abide by His laws, and the Constitution is the Bible and things like that. And we can't adapt biblical culture to our culture. The Aboriginal culture have to adapt to biblical culture, and we have to judge everything out of what the Bible says.
I want to come back to that one because I think that's very important.
Yeah.
But just to tease it out a little bit more, when God created mankind. So what we're talking about, where did they get their languages? Well, there was only one, wasn't there, with Adam and Eve?
Yeah, there was one language before. It could have been Hebrew or could have been Aramaic,
Okay.
But after Adam fell and was hunted out of the Garden of Eden, and man began to multiply and things like that, and then God had to bring in the flood, to destroy different like spirit beings sort of started to marry into women and things like that and bred strange, like what the Bible says, strange flesh, you know. So God had to tell Noah, you know, to build an ark if he was going to send a flood to destroy the wickedness of man. And but after the flood, when the flood went down, Noah's ark rested on Mount Ararat, and after so many days, then God let him out of the ark, you know, and the land began to spread throughout the land, and they went to the plains of Shinar, and see, God told them to go all over the world, and but they disobeyed God, so they built this tower, see, called Babel, you know. And
so I gather there were a few generations and the population had built up quite a bit.
Yeah, so they went to this tower Babel, where there was astrologers, you know, worshipping the host of heaven, the stars, the moon and the sun, and so God came down and confused their language, you know, not confused, but and gave every person there different language, you know, different language, and maybe even the whole maybe appearance God could have changed, you know, and so they couldn't communicate in any way, you know.
So what you're saying is that we end up with the Asian races with different physical features and different languages, and the African who have different features, and the European, and that was all part of God destroying that unity that was trying to build up a tower to heaven.
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. And it was from that tower now, the migration of mankind, that's where we all migrated from there. You know, the American Indians went to America, but God put it in there, you know, in them. You can read it in the Bible, it says that, you know, God dispersed them then, and the Aboriginal people came to Australia, Chinese to China, and, you know, and that was a place, you know, to stay. That's where God designated that place, and that's where we had to stay, you know.
And so there developed laws and law, L-O-R-E, cultural law, in all of these, each of these, and we ended up with different customs. And some of them, and some of that law changed over the years, even though I've heard people say our law never changes, as it's passed down orally from one generation to the next, some things do change. And so we end up with things that are not what God gave in the first place.
No. And if you go to all the tribes and where you'll find there is a core runs through all those things. They knew God, you know? They knew there was a sovereign
being, a creator.
Yeah, a creator. They knew God, you know?
Yep.
But because they didn't have a book to keep them on track, you know, they sort of passed things on orally. They could add to it, they could take away from it. But you'll see there are a lot of truths and a lot of cultures in the world, but there's a lot of error as well, you know? So when God had to bring in the Ten Commandments, and like Moses, you know, through Moses, and passed down through the Hebrew people, and that's what we got today, you know, the Bible, and we have to judge our culture according to what God says, you know.
Okay. And so coming back to what you were talking about earlier, you have all those Aboriginal cultures, and some people are saying that's what is the firm thing that we have to hang on to, and Christianity and the Bible have to come in underneath that. And there's not even that the Bible is equal to it.
No.
What are you saying has to happen?
We have to go the other way. Everything has to go through the Bible. The Bible is the grid that everything has to rise and fall. It doesn't matter what culture, you know, Western culture, Hebrew culture, Aboriginal culture, the African culture, the Indian culture, you know, the Eskimos culture. Every culture has to rise and fall with the Bible. We have to check things in our culture if it line up with God's word. If it doesn't line up with God's word, then we have to get rid of it, because every concept and everything that is contrary to God's word has in it the seeds of decay, destruction and degeneration.
So everything of tribal law or cultural law has to be measured against what God says in the Bible, and if it doesn't, then something has to change in that culture or tribal law.
Yeah, and we have to do that. You know, I can't go to a culture in Africa and tell them what to do. You know, I got to. My tribe is the Gunian and the Gidja tribe, so I can go to them and tell them, look, we've got to change, you know, and we have to get rid of the darkness that is in our culture.
But you can go to another culture, another tribe, Wongai or somewhere, and you can say, well, look, this is what the Bible says, and it doesn't seem like that's measuring up to what the Bible says. I can see a lot of change needs to happen.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of change needs to happen. But today there is a revival in Australia, like, you know, we're not criticising NITV, but a lot of that, the Dreamtime story, the fables and the myths are coming through that, and through that it releases demonic spirits throughout this whole land as well, you know.
And we've got to get godly spirits to deal with those things.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rod. I think we've got a lot to listen to and to pray through and work through in our different cultures. Thanks, Rod.
Thanks, John.